Okay, welcome everyone. And tonight it's episode 5 of Horror Hangouts. I'm your host, Josh. And with me tonight, I have a special guest. I have Aleister Sharkwater, does quite a few different things, writing, along with hosting watch parties, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. So, how are you doing this evening, Aleister?
Doing well. I also whip up my own homemade apple cider, which I usually have during my watch parties.
Oh, wow, that's good. Well, I just got a Heineken tonight, so
Oh, it is refreshing, Heineken.
yeah. So tell me so what was it that really brought you into the horror genre? Was there a particular movie that said I love horror? What movie I guess brought you in to horror
There's a
in the
few
first place?
different. There's a few different influences. I started off on Nickelodeon. There was a show called "Are You Afraid of the Dark?" Every Saturday night, and I watch it almost religiously if I could. This was back in the days before everything was streaming, and there was
Right,
also
right. I remember those days.
there was also Goosebumps. There was also the uh, the trauma of being 5 years old and it's 10 in the morning. I change the channel and I see a woman on a boat. The police are on the land. They wave to her, and then seeing a Jason Voorhees pop out of the water. And keep in mind, someone needed to get fired. It was five in the. It was not. It was 10 in the morning, and I saw that shit.
That's funny because when I was 5, I think the first horror movie I watched was 1931's Dracula, and
Oh,
but that was like at 10:30 at night. My mom would let me stay up because it was a Friday night, and that was my first horror movie. So that's weird. They would have Dracula on not till 10:30 at night, but they would have Friday the 13th on at 10 o'clock in the morning. Makes sense.
oh, yes. And my Saturday nights after that show, and also this was big in the day of Joe Bob Briggs on Monster Vision. So I
Hmm.
was watching a lot of movies out of sequels out of order. I'd seen like Friday the 13th 5, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, just all out of order, which is how you should go through a franchise.
No, but I was the same way with Friday the 13th. I think the first one that I had watched, I got in that one a little bit later. But it seems to me the first one I had watched was, oh, I think it was 7, to be honest with you. And then it was like 7, then maybe 2, then 4, then 1, which really screwed me up because like, who's this old lady killing these people? I thought it was supposed to be Jason, not understanding the whole lore and all that at that time.
I,
And
I
then I
imagine
got it
it's
at
the
the
same
very
way
end.
with the
Oh,
Halloween
there's
franchise.
Jason. Halloween, I think I went in. No, it's pretty much in order. I know I skipped 3 for the longest time. I went 1, 2, 4, and pretty much right down the line. But I only seen the first 15 minutes of Resurrection, and that was all I needed to see of that one.
Say what you will, that movie, it did YouTube streaming before YouTube streaming. That was a big cutting edge.
I suppose it was ahead of its time. I'll give it that.
There's going to be a big quote in Slasher. Joss states Halloween Resurrection ahead of its time.
Yeah, I
Uh,
can hear it now. Maybe not necessarily in a good way, but it was. So what are some of your like favorite horror movies? Would you say?
some of the favorite ones, and the same ones I saw growing up. There was Scream. My sister had recorded it off pay per view This is back in the days with VHS, man. You remember them
Hmm.
days.
Hmm.
And I remember trying to sneak to grab the tape as well. And I pretty much came up during the 90s slasher revival. So it was Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend. I don't know if you ever watched a show called Boy Meets World, but
Uh,
they had a Halloween spoof episode that was one of the best I had ever seen. They were stuck in the school with a slasher, man. It was the best.
And ironically, and maybe I'm wrong, you can correct me. It seems to me didn't Danielle Harris like do a couple episodes of that show?
She did indeed. She also did an episode of Erie, Indiana, which
I
I just
remember
love
that.
that.
I didn't know it was her at the time, but I remember watching that show because I was born and raised in Indiana, so naturally I watched it, and wasn't until oh wait, that was the girl that was in Halloween 4. I didn't know that.
Yeah, those showrunners knew what they were doing, man.
Yeah, it was like funny. I remember watching The Last Boy Scout, and I'm like, holy shit, there she is.
Oh, she's in a lot. I still listen to her podcast that she does with Scout Compton.
Scout. Hmm.
Oh yeah, that's a fun one to listen to. Although
Yeah,
not in public, they get pretty
yeah,
raunchy.
I know. I've listened to a few episodes. I met her almost a year ago at a horror convention in
Oh,
Denver, and she's just and most of these people are. She's like the sweetest thing you'd ever want to meet, and she's maybe 4'11" on her tippy toes, maybe, but and last couple weeks ago, I went to HorrorCon in Vegas, actually, and I'm going to do a whole or talk a little bit more about that in a future episode. But that was pretty cool too. So I got to meet I guess, my first horror crush, Ashley Lawrence from Hellraiser. So that was like a big deal.
oh heck yeah.
And I tell you what, she might be like 57, 58, but she don't look a day over 40.
Yeah, she was on the last drive-in a couple of years ago when he showed Hellraiser 2. Still looking
Hmm.
good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hope I look at that. I won't. I don't look, I'm almost 50 now, and I don't look near that good. So, but yeah, I remember the funny thing getting back to Daniel Harris. I remember when me and my wife went and saw Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Hmm.
Now, keep in mind, this is back before we really had much of a social media, and there's spoilers and all that. All I knew about is Rob Zombie was directing it, and that Malcolm McDowell was going to be in it, more than likely playing Dr. Loomis, which he did. So I'm watching the movie, and then at the end, I'm like, oh, they're showing the end credits, and like I see Daniel Harris's name up there. I'm like, well, who the hell did she play? Because at that point, I hadn't seen her
Hmm.
in anything in 10 years probably. And like, oh, she played Annie. And then it stopped and think about it for a second. Oh, wait, she did a topless scene. That's almost kind of creepy in a way. Just because you grew up watching her as a kid. I'm like, oh, God, I just saw Jamie Lloyd's boobs all of a sudden.
They joke about that in Holliston when Adam Green said, "I had a crush on you," and she said, "When I was 10," and he's like, "No, I was 10 too."
I was like 14 probably at the time that movie came out, so I couldn't really see her more than like a little sister figure or anything like that. But she looks pretty good still. So that's so let's see where were we? We were talking. All right, we were talking about Boy Meets World, and I talked about Daniel Harris. So after Boy Meets World, were there any other TV shows or movies that you like your very favorites?
No, man. Once I started hitting middle school, I started tracking down the classics. Evil Dead. What was it? Started working, and then I would catch just random movies on late at night, man. But I just, I started watching horror from a young age, man. Never really gave it up.
Okay. Let's see here. Have you seen like any recent movies that you've really liked so far that's come out, say, in the last few years?
Last few years, what was it for AMC? Their unseen features promotion. They
Hmm.
release movies like it's a surprise, but they'll announce if it's the rating and if it's a horror movie. I saw Lisa Frankenstein. Man, I really love that one.
That's getting a lot of love, and I haven't seen that one yet. I've got like a watch list about a mile long, but
It's impossible to watch everything, man. That's why I don't get on people when they haven't seen a movie.
Oh yeah, me neither. And that's why I like, well, and we'll get to this later, but that's why I really try to promote like hidden gems, like movies that I'm guessing most people have not seen, just to introduce them to it because, why not? Because those are oftentimes some of the best ones you'll find.
Absolutely. I do the same thing on Cena. If I find a little known movie that I really enjoyed, it's like, hey, you guys got to watch this. Oh my God. I got to tell you, there is nothing like seeing Troll 2 for the first time with a bunch of new people. That movie was a masterpiece, man. I got to tell you.
Well, speaking of scenery, that's a perfect segue. Why don't you tell the audience about what exactly scener is? Because there's a lot of people who, including myself, up until a few weeks ago, who didn't even know what it was.
Cena is a watch party site where you can host or join from different streaming sites such as Netflix, HBO Max, Tubi, or even Shudder. I've been doing my best to promote it since I discovered it.
Well, you're doing a good job because I joined one briefly that you had this past Sunday, and then I hosted my own, as I was getting ready to say last night, doing a little known vampire movie called A Vampire's Tale. But yeah, it's a pretty neat little thing. What got you started in wanting to do that? How did you discover it?
Let me see. At the start of quarantine in 2020, I wasn't able to go to the movies, and I was a part of a online horror group, and on Facebook Live they were like promoting watch parties like crazy. So I started joining a bunch, and I started looking into different sites that were hosting. And during my research, I found Scener. It had the most simple platform. It was great to use, and with all the streaming sites you had available, you had a pretty wide selection. And as luck would have it, after I was hosting parties on it for a few months, they posted on their website that they were hiring moderators. I sent in my application, and when they were interviewing me, I told them my experience with the website, and they stopped me right there and said, "That's actually perfect. We're looking for someone to host our horror channel, what they call the Scream and Stream channel." And
Oh,
so
wow.
for literally the next year and a half, I was hosting 4 times a week, and I was paid to watch horror movies while people joined.
Wonderful. Well, that's got to be about the best job one could have.
This is how great it is. After a year and a half, they let go all the moderators just because all the promotion that they could do is doing, and I'm still pretty much doing the same job. So they really got their money's worth with me because, like, honestly, that's something I am literally doing for free.
Exactly. But still, I mean, what's wonderful about that, it's bringing more people together because we do have like such a we were talking earlier off camera about what a great community we do have within the horror community and specifically with slasher, and it's always good to bring more people into that, and senior is obviously a great way to do that, plus to introduce people to a lot of movies that maybe they never saw or never heard of.
And I like using Tubi and YouTube just because everything on there is free. But back when I first started, I was using Netflix a lot, man, and they had
Hmm.
some pretty good shows there. I
Yeah,
even know when what was it, Midnight Mass, the vampire show that came out. I actually
uh-huh.
marathon that from beginning to start one Saturday evening.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
Mike
I'm trying
Flanagan,
to
man,
think
we
how
worship.
long Tubi's even been around. I don't think they've been around that long, have they?
It's been a few years, man, but the selection is just like I haven't seen its match. Even on Shutter, a lot of the stuff that's on there is on Tubi as
Hmm.
well.
Well, yeah, I've noticed that. It's like when I'm like trying to find a movie, my first go to is normally Tubi or Shutter, well, I have AMC Plus, which includes Shutter.
Hmm.
So it's like if it's not on between one of those two, then I have to really dig into maybe Amazon Prime or Max or Netflix or Hulu. I've got like
Screenbox, that is another wonderful one as well. They have some pretty interesting. They got documentaries. They got international horror movies as well. I found some
that's what I
real good
like.
gems.
That's what I like about Tubi. They got a mess load of Italian horror, which I've been trying to get myself versed on because it's one subgenre I hadn't been into up until the last few months. So it's like, I'm like, all right, which one am I going to watch tonight?
Have you ever seen Phenomenon or the one with Jennifer Connelly?
No, but I've heard of that. Is that an Argento one? Or is
That's
that
one of his.
Fulci?
That's one of the no Argento. It's one of his first few, I believe. And I think it was either her. I think it was her second movie as well. So she was real young in that one. But that one had Donald Pleasant in it as well, and also an orangutan.
Classic Argento.
I rarely can I say third act last minute rescue by knife yielding uh, orangutan.
That one's going to be going on my watch list now. I mean, now have you watched a lot of the Italian Giallo movies?
I've been trying to work my way through it. There's another person. I think he's on Slasher as well. Was it Carlin Cook? He hosts watch parties on Scener as well, but he does like to specialize in the giallo.
Okay. I don't know if I'll have to add him. I'll have to go find him.
If not, I'll
Yeah.
send you a link because he does host from either bi-monthly or monthly. But his stuff he's really nice guy, man. His stuff he always has good picks.
Yeah, so far, out of the ones that I've watched, I think my favorite one might be Bay of Blood so far out of that subgenre, based on the ones that I've seen.
Mm-hmm. I saw recently it was what's that Suspiria for the first time in full, man. That is the soundtrack, the cinematography, everything is just so wonderful.
Yeah, I like that one too. I don't quite. Oh no, it's one. Some of these movies I need to go back and watch a second time because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I'm missing something. Because I'm like, wait, why did that just happen? That didn't make any sense, or something along those lines. So, like when the dog in Suspiria just up and attacks his owner or whatever, who I, if I remember correctly, is blind and just rips his throat out. I'm like, okay, where did that come from? I didn't see that coming, but I
I'm
guess someone explained to me it had something to do with witchcraft. All right.
I'm just happy the dog ran off from the cops and was not seen from again. So if they don't show the dog dying, I'm assuming it lived.
I'm assuming so too. And yeah, I know. We never, yeah, he commits this horrific act and then we never see him again. But
That means he beat it from the cops, man. I'm on that dog's side, man.
have you seen, are you like big into like vampire or Dracula movies?
Dracula, I've seen quite a few. Any particular ones you're thinking of?
Well, I was thinking of Argento's Dracula since we were on the subject, if you had seen that one yet.
I have not heard anything good about it.
I must be like I swear I am a man on an island by himself because I'm like the last person in the world who still does not really like Halloween 3, even though everyone else now loves it. And I must be the only person that loves Argento's Dracula. Go
Well, you're the
figure.
first person I've heard say something good about it, so I may catch it in the future.
Yeah, it's at least worth. Let's put it this way. I think this particular Dracula is like one of the more brutal Draculas you'll see. That's
Oh,
all. There's this one scene where he just, and I won't give away too much, but he kicks some ass in one particular scene. And I'm like, yeah, people hate it. So I'm not. I get it that the ending was a little bit schlocky, I guess is the term I would use. It was kind of out of tone for the rest of the movie, but
And schlock is my politics. It is my lifestyle.
Well, it's just this. Well, they had Rutger Hauer plays Van Helsing in it, and he's just so out of place in the whole movie. It just didn't make any sense to have him in there. Now I like Rutger Hauer, but he was just it would be like putting I don't know Billy Bob Thornton in a French movie or something like that. It just doesn't work.
I mean, if he plays an American, he can make that work. As is
Maybe.
someone recommended for that movie Oppenheimer. Someone said, Einstein didn't have a lot of lines. Could Hulk Hogan have played him? And you know what? I swear to God, if he kept it toned down, I could buy that. I could buy that.
That would be interesting to see there. I don't know how big Albert Einstein was, but I don't think he was that big, but still, why not? So what's let's see here. So what other project you're also a writer too, is that correct?
Yes, it has been a while though. I'm working since when I started my first book of short stories. I had my main podcast, and I was writing some little fictional stories that I could possibly. I was telling my co-host, "Hey, maybe we could get some other people do the voices." We let them know it's a fictional, quote unquote, story that we went through, and I had built up a couple of like about 7 stories, and when I just thought, you know what, I could just slap this all together and pop it on Amazon. So I looked into it, did my research, and that's what I did. And I was hoping to have more progress in my follow up. Same characters, but it's been more difficult this past year. Really sitting down and getting quality time in writing.
Yeah, I found, my first book that I wrote, I was able to get the first draft done in about 6 to 8 weeks. And the second one I've been working on since January, and I still probably have a month and a half to go. And a large part of it due is a little bit more of a complex story, and I just haven't had as much time as I would like to as far as doing it. It's gotten to the point where I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning now and work on it for about an hour before I have to get ready to go to work.
For me, I have the stories. It's just sometimes these little story blocks. Like, how do I get from point A to point B? It kind of demotivates you a bit, but it's like everything is still in your head. I wouldn't call it writer's block, but there's just something there.
Well, what it is just trying to figure out. It's almost like solving a puzzle. It's like you've got those first pieces together and you know how the puzzle's supposed to look when you're done. It's just all about sometimes connecting everything together the way they need to. And sometimes I have found once I get the first paragraph or two done in a chapter or in a section, then I'm almost good to go. It's just getting started, especially with this one I'm doing now, which is like a series of, it's almost like an anthology. It's like it'll be like 7 stories that are all connected to one another.
Oh,
So it's like I get one done and then I have to almost start over again because I have to introduce some new characters while still bringing some of the characters from the previous story into it. So that's probably what's also causing it to be a little bit longer, but that's fine. It's not like I have a deadline or anything. So I'll get done with it when I get done with it.
it's nice not having deadlines or anyone on you to get after it. It's like when I can do it, you get that flow going. It's just like everything flows out. But yeah, right now I just have a couple of stumbles, man. But I'm hoping to be able to put some more time into it.
Good, good. Well, yeah, I mean, it's always good. As many people as we can get as far as writing horror and getting those out there. That's what's wonderful nowadays is you can self-publish. You can go on KDB Select, which is what I've used, and just get it out there. And I guess the only hard part is getting it marketed and promoted because that's the one thing I guess a publisher does do that's probably worthwhile.
Yes, I definitely am lacking skill in the marketing department. But I also love doing podcasts, so it's a weird conundrum.
Well, one thing I've started thinking about doing, and I talked to a couple of vendors at the HorrorCon I went to a couple of weeks ago, and I saw there's some authors there, independent authors that are selling their books, and I'm like thinking that might not be a bad idea once I get the second book out, doing something like that. Because even though, as one of the authors said, chances are you're not going to break even for the weekend, but at the very least, it's just a good way to get yourself out there and as far as networking and so forth. And if you get a few books, hopefully those people will tell other people and word of mouth. And
Movie deals, what was it? Merchandising,
oh yeah, all that fun stuff.
gambling, hard drugs, direct your own written movie while being on marijuana the whole time. A la Maximum Overdrive. That's the dream, baby. Maximum Overdrive.
And that turned out great. And I still love that movie. I don't care what anyone says. And that movie's starting to get some love now. People are looking back at it and like thinking, wow, that movie really wasn't that bad, even if Stephen King doesn't even remember doing it. But
And it had Gus from Breaking Bad dying by electrocuted by an arcade machine. I swear, if they ever do a remake, I want them to keep that scene in and get him again. And just when he's getting electrocuted, he says, "Not again."
what that reminds me, you've seen Spaceballs, right?
Have I seen Spaceballs? Yeah, I've seen Spaceballs, man.
Okay. Remember the scene at the very end and John Hurt, a little cameo and the alien pops out of his stomach and he looks at it and goes, "Oh no, not again." That was so clever of them to bring him in just to do that scene, just because he's, of course, infamous for the scene in Alien. But
And him and Linda Blair, man.
oh yeah, I remember that movie Repossessed. She did with Leslie Nielsen.
Now that one I've been needing to see. But speaking of Leslie Nielsen, one of my favorite versions of Dracula, Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Mel Brooks was so great at doing parodies off of other movies, and that was, you'd done start off with doing like what was it, Young Frankenstein, and he came full circle to do Dracula Dead and Loving It.
I remember when he didn't do Elephant Man, but he fought hard to have David Lynch do it. And there was a studio. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
And I remember reading a story that there was a studio exec who had just seen Eraserhead, and he was saying, "I didn't get it." And Mel Brooks, who had only seen it 2 days before, he told him, "That just goes to show you what an idiot you are."
I've heard that story, and I think he's like a co-producer or something of the Elephant Man, or at least help put some money up to get that movie made.
Yeah, he didn't want to direct it himself, but I'm glad he picked David Lynch, man. That was
Perfect guy to do it.
I don't know if you've seen it, right?
A long time ago, but yeah, I've seen it.
I remember seeing it, my brain trying to process everything, like, what is the meaning of this? And then I go back in the regular world and I'm just like, oh, that's right. It's like this, not like that.
Oh, I know. And there's a guy that, I don't know if he's still directing movies, but that's like someone I'd like to see do a couple more movies to see if he doesn't have a few more movies out of him, kind of like David Cronenberg.
Isn't Cronenberg doing something new?
You know what? I think I heard that he was actually, and it looks like his son's going to turn out to be a pretty good director too. I don't know if you saw, what was it last year with Mia Goth and one of the Skarsgårds, Infinity Pool. That was a really good movie.
I didn't see Infinity Pool, but I saw Possessor. That one was a good one.
See, that one I haven't seen, so I'll have to go put that one on my list too. But yeah, Infinity Pool is like my, I'd say third or fourth favorite movie from last year. It's bizarre for sure, but it's a wild ride.
Oh, right on, right on. What was it last year? That's when freaking when Evil Lurks came out. That definitely
Mm-hmm.
made my top 5. That was incredible.
Made my, I think it was my seventh. I think that's another one too that I need to go back and rewatch. Especially
Hmm.
with movies with subtitles, I have to kind of like go back and watch it again so I can pay a little bit more attention to the characters and whatnot.
Hmm.
But it was certainly I give it high marks anyway for being different and unique, which it certainly was.
I'm kind of bashful to tell you my number one movie of last year,
No, go for it.
Slaughterhouse.
I haven't seen it, so I've heard it wasn't. I haven't heard too many good things, but hey, I'm the one person who likes Argento's Dracula, so what do I know?
It's a killer sloth, and there's a scene where the sloth is scrolling on Instagram, and just like, this is art right here. This is.
I think my favorite from last year wasn't quite a horror; it's more of a revenge thriller. It was called God is a Bullet.
I heard of it. I haven't seen it though.
It's pretty good. Did you ever watch Game of Thrones?
I have indeed.
Okay, the guy who plays Jamie Lannister, I'm gonna butcher his name, Nikolaj Wat.
Oh yeah.
He's the
Uh,
lead guy, and great performance by him. He's just a total badass or he becomes a badass because it's kind of like a combination of Taken mixed in with the grittiness of Death Wish, the original Death Wish, mixed in with any random like extreme horror movie you could think of, like revenge type of thing. It's
oh, Mandy.
it's very brutal for sure.
Oh, I definitely got to give it a watch.
I'm not even sure where it's at. I actually ordered it on Blu-ray, but I think you could probably, if it's not on Tubi, I know you can at least rent it on Amazon Prime, and it's worth the $4 or whatever to rent it.
Heck yeah, man. What was it tonight? I'm probably gonna rewatch Lisa Frankenstein. My wife hasn't seen it yet, so I'm happy to show that to her.
Not sure what I'm gonna watch yet. The reason I picked another reason I picked Vampire's Tale last night is because it's going to be coming off of Tubi in the next few days. So that's why I better go ahead and get this one in while it's still available. So there's a few other movies I have on my list that are like that too. So I may have to double check to see if there's anything I haven't watched in a while or haven't seen period yet.
Yeah, Tubi, it's tough to schedule ahead of time because I know with Netflix, they were real good at announcing what's leaving and what's coming on the month of. Like they'll announce the exact date. Tubi, sometimes they'll be there and then bam, gone.
Well, I know this, and this isn't horror related per se, but one of my favorite television shows growing up was Miami Vice. And Tubi had all 5 seasons. So every once in a while, I'll watch a couple episodes every week or so just to relive my youth. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't there. I'm like, what? Because oftentimes they'll give like a 9-day warning, 9 or 10-day warning when something's getting ready to leave. But
Mm-hmm. Now, I will say on Pluto TV, they've recently added a Universal Monsters channel, 24/7. And it has been on in the background ever since it's been on, man. I love that stuff.
I just signed up too for Pluto just recently because there was a movie, and now it's going to escape me now as far as what it was. I'm always going to have to look it up. And it was the only place it was on was Pluto, and it was a small independent zombie movie, more or less. One second.
Oh, no problem, no problem. But they not
Because
only
if
the
not, it's
Universal.
going to bug me the rest of the night.
They not only have the Universal Monster channel, they have 2 additional horror channels as well as a cult movie channel. Like Pluto is it's incredible right now.
Yeah, it is, based on what I saw of it. What was the name of that movie? Now I'm gonna like lose my shit here. I know I posted it on it.
Independent and
In
zombie.
4 hours from now, I'm gonna like send you a DM because the name of that movie was.
All right, let me get my mind on there. Give me details. What country is it from?
Oh, it's American. It was directed by someone who I'm going to have on the show next month by the name of Stacy
Oh,
Lane Wilson, who's
uh-huh,
a independent filmmaker. I mean, she's only done a couple. She's also an author.
uh-huh.
Um, she has her podcast. A friend of a friend more or less recommended me to reach out to her. So that was a movie I wanted to check out. Now I can't think of the name of it. So Stacy,
Now I'm looking.
if you're happen to be listening to this, sorry I forgot the name of the movie.
Oh my god.
Just found it. It's called Fetish Factory,
Ah.
and
I
it's
haven't heard
basically
of it.
about. It's a small independent film, but it's a lot of fun. Basically, it takes place in a classy burlesque club,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden, the customers start turning into zombies. Essentially, it's goofy, but it's a lot of
You,
fun to watch. I think you'd like it.
hey, you had me at burlesque. Okay.
And it reminds me of a little bit of, I don't know if you ever saw Zombie Strippers.
I have not. I know it had Jenna Jameson in it.
And Robert Englund, he plays the sleazy club owner, and it's
Oh,
almost a reversal because in that one it's the dancers that turns into zombies, not the patrons. So, but that one's probably a little bit more gratuitous than Fetish Factory was. But given you can tell it's a low budget film, but given what they had to work with, it actually works pretty well. So I think I did a slight review on it on Slasher actually.
what was it? Just the other night, I went to see Winnie the Pooh 2, Blood and Honey, but the movie theater I went to, it was online that they had it, but they didn't have it that night.
Mm.
So instead, I saw Late Night with the Devil. That one, man, I have my review up on Slasher, and it's very similar to another movie called The Cleansing Hour, but this
Mm-hmm.
one, it's got that 70s style. It's so stylish, and also that main actor, David Damaskian, or Damaskian, I can't say.
I don't know. I haven't
But
seen it yet, but it's one I'm looking at watching.
no, he did an incredible job with it. I'm happy he's getting more work now.
Yeah, I always like it when I see certain actors pop up in other things. I'm like, oh, good, they got a role here and a role there. So who were like, what else was I gonna say? Speaking of Winnie Pooh, Blood and Honey, maybe that's what I'll watch because I haven't even seen the first one yet, so I probably need to watch that tonight before now that the sequel's coming out.
While did enjoy Late Night with the Devil very much, I was mad because walking out, I saw a review for Winnie the Pooh 2, and the review said that he was using a chainsaw that was on fire. And I'm pissed I didn't get to see that.
Well, I hear they had more of a budget for that one, so that's good.
And you heard about the part 3 they have announced, right?
I'm not surprised that yeah, I think I heard a little bit about it.
Oh, that they're going to have Bambi, some characters from Alice in Wonderland.
Okay, I heard, all right, a little bit about this. They're almost creating their own multiverse here.
Once again, man, these are my politics.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see, too, in the last few years to see some new, I guess, slasher icons come about because we've had, Art the Clown. We've got Winnie the Pooh. We had with Thanksgiving, I forget what the character's name is, John Carver, I think is what it was supposed to be. And I
Mhm.
think that's going to get a sequel. So it's good to see some new stuff coming out rather than watching the 15th sequel to Halloween or whatever for that matter.
Oh man, I had a review for Halloween that is kept hostage by one of these streaming services. They give you a
Mm-hmm.
couple of free turns, and then we did that episode, and they said if you want the episode, now you need the paid plan.
Ah,
Yeah, that'll happen sometimes, but no, man. Even that last one, I still loved it, and we're still getting another Scream movie as well. Stuff I watched as a kid, still around today.
yeah, and what was it? They announced it about a week or so ago that Nev Campbell's coming back. So I guess they finally decided to pay her for what she's probably worth.
And they announced today they're in negotiations with Courtney Cox.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't killed her off yet. They
They
killed off.
almost did.
Well, they almost do it every time, but it makes me wonder though about that series. Sydney Prescott has got to be I want to know what she did in her real life to cause this many different people to want to kill her.
Nothing. Her mom just got around. That's no reason to serial stalk someone.
No kidding. Your mom fucked my dad, so I'm gonna kill you. It's like, well, kill her mom instead.
Your mom was my mom too, and I'm mad she didn't want me.
I know. And they pretty much use the same formula every time, but I guess it works. I was never that big of a fan of this series, but I certainly admire the passion that people have for it.
Like with any franchise, I'm just waiting until they get to space.
Sometimes that works out better than you think. I think Jason X proved to. I thought that one's a lot better than people say it is. It definitely has one of the best kills in the whole series. That's for sure.
Shit, even Pinhead and the Leprechaun, they made it to space before him.
Yeah, and I love Hellraiser Bloodline because I'm a huge Hellraiser fan, and that's probably my third favorite in the series. But to be fair, only a third of the movie takes place in outer space. It's basically three different period pieces, but everyone wants to say, that's when Pinhead went to outer space. Well, yeah, I guess. But
it's probably to be safe. And what was it? The creator of Chucky has said, if the fans want it, I can get him to space.
Was that Tom Holland?
No. For Chucky, that would be Don Mancini, I believe.
Oh, okay. I was like trying to think who started it. I was thinking Tom Holland directed one of them, but maybe one of those movies.
I know he did Psycho 2 and Fright Night. But,
right.
I don't know about you.
Maybe I'm off on that one there.
You could be right. You could be right. I don't know.
Well, someone can fact check us on that. Leave it in the comments. Did Tom Holland direct a Chucky movie? Because I was thinking he directed one or two, possibly. I think. Now I'm going to, if JR Horror's listening, she had him on her show not too long ago, I think. And I could be talking out my ass. I don't know. But anyhow.
So what other podcast? Oh, what's up? Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, I was going to say, what other podcasts have you done? Have you hosted your own yet? Or
I've done my own. It was called Evil by Default, but real life circumstances kind of I got a second job and my co-host got a promotion, so it's been tougher to meet up. So that one is on hiatus for the moment. And since then, man, I've been like a Ronin, going from podcast to podcast. But man, I'm having fun chatting with people, man.
Yeah, me too. We'll have got a few ones coming up. We're gonna have couple of weeks, I'll have a panel discussion with a few of the other slashers, and I'm going to try to do one of the. I mean, what I'm trying to do is do two of these type of discussions that we're doing, like 101 or whatever. Try and do two of these a month and do like a full panel discussion where we have 4 or 5 people on, and we just tackle a variety of different subjects, or maybe just one big subject, and kind of go from there.
Ooh, I do like that idea. Now keep me in
Yeah.
mind for a future one.
Oh, I will for sure. I've already got my lineup set for April's one, so I'll probably do one and probably in May for sure. Got my dog here
This is
wanting
a
my attention.
puppy. That's a puppy. What are you talking about? That's not
Oh, she's like about 3 years old now. She's not
Oh,
getting much bigger than that.
mine is a lot smaller, but a lot more sinister.
But anyhow, all right. Um. So yeah. So what's coming up on Scene, or what movies you got coming up there
Next
that you'll
week,
be hosting?
more episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark? I had seen that they had posted season
Mhm.
7, which is known as like the missing season, because while it did air on TV, they really haven't done a DVD release. So the fact that they posted it all on YouTube, I'm gonna have it up to be playing on Sunday.
All right, wonderful, awesome. And you normally do those, I believe, at 7 o'clock Central Time, then.
On every Sunday at 8 p.m. Central Time. But yeah, it is every Sunday. If you
Oh,
or any of your
8 p.m. That's
listeners
right.
don't want to feel like joining, and definitely I am keeping an eye on your channel for if you host more. I feel bad I was only able to
Excellent.
join for a couple of minutes yesterday, but that was a fun movie from what I saw.
Yeah, it is, and I would recommend it. I don't. Once it leaves Tubi, I'm not sure what other streaming service it could be on, but I know next Thursday, being the fact that it's my birthday, I decide, well, I might as well play my favorite horror movie of all time and host a watch party for that, and that will be the original Hellraiser.
Heck yes. Well, happy early birthday. If I'm not able to see you then, but man, birthdays on Cena, that is definitely an excuse to go all out, man.
Exactly. All right, then. Well, Alistair, thanks for joining us this evening, and we will certainly talk to you down the road.
Happy to chat.
All right. Good night, everyone.